Hello. So we're back. I decided to keep the momentum going with the videos and maybe record a few more. However, I didn't want to play, so that was problematic. So I was digging back through some of my old files that people had sent me, and a player named, well, he has many names. They're all herb related, so he alternately goes by Basil, Sage, or Tarragon, or something like that. He's quite a good Sil player, and he's also the world champion of a lesser-known Angband variant called Halls of Mist. So if you happen to go to the Angband ladder and look at that variant, he's all over it, because he's pretty much one of 3 people who play it. Anyhow, a long time ago, before Sil 1.2 was even released, he sent me this termcast, or TTY-rec, I guess, recording of a build that's I've been meaning to demonstrate for a long time, and I'm just terrible at it, so I was never going to play it myself. Unfortunately, this build is going to be a bit of a misrepresentation of what it would be like to play it now, because 1.2 is way harder for reasons I'll explain, I think, in my opinion, to do this kind of build. But let's get into it. I may speed up the recording a bit. We'll start at normal speed, but so this is going to be a really stealthy build that is basically a pacifist. He picked Finarfin because of the Nolder, they are the most apt for this kind of thing just because they're so high in perception. So you'll notice, I'm going to pause. Actually, I'm not. Let's see what he does. Because I don't think this is the final stat distribution that he ends up with. Yeah, see, he starts over again. You may be thinking, you know, if I was going to play a stealth character, I want stealth. And it's a pretty good thought. However, you may be confused by this because his dex is pretty high, but his grace is redonkulous. And you may have noticed there he just jacked perception but put very little into stealth. So the question is why? There are 2 ways to be sneaky in Sil, and you'll end up having to use both of them. One is to have a really high stealth score and not wake anything up. But the other is to use perception and a skill called Listen, which is sort of like telepathy. It shows you where your opponents are depending on your perception skill. And just avoiding them altogether. So you see them coming, you go in a different direction and hope that it works. So he's sort of opting for the latter in the early game, and the Finarfin pick helps him a lot because it's got they have a perception bonus, and so they'll get their first skill for free. So generally, Listen is pretty much impossible to get right off the bat, but he's going to be able to do it. And so he'll be able to sneak around a little bit, because I think he'll still... I mean, this is the benefit of starting with one of the Nolder. They have ridiculous stats. And he's going to screw with his interface options while I talk a bit more. So, 3 dexterity, you know, for any Dane, for example, is pretty much the highest they could get, and for the Nolder, it's close to the lowest they could get. So there is an Edane that is stealth-focused. They're the Haleth house, and you may think, oh, I'm going to play stealth. They're a good pick. For sure, I mean, they're an option, but this seems like a pretty good start. So I've never really played with this perception-heavy start before, and it struck me as being smarter than what I was trying to do. So this is not going to be a combat-intensive game, so actually I may just triple the speed, because when things aren't dying, it's not quite as entertaining. But he is fully not exploring the 50-foot floor. So I was going to say I was surprised. I did watch this sort of quickly before. Maybe 2 times the speed is better. But I don't quite recall everything that happened. So the only real way to get experience as a sneaky guy is to see a lot of stuff. Which he just did, so he was able to get disguise. So a lot of things just happened there. I went on rap. So the first is he just dove past 50. The odds of you seeing a lot of stuff on 50 feet that are going to give you experience are low. And you'll meet all the monsters that you would have met there anyways sooner or later. But every time you dive down a floor, you get more and more experience. So you get a bonus every time you reach a new floor. And I think it's basically the depth that you're at, it gives you that much experience. So you really want to dive hard. Because your stealth does not need to be super high for you to basically go without detection altogether. Sorry, I mean go undetected. So it's really hard for monsters to see once you have like 15 to 18 stealth. And it's not that hard to get it. So diving helps you get there quicker. Second thing that he did was that he took disguise right off the bat here after his first initial perception abilities, because it gives you such a huge bonus to monsters that are in your line of sight. so it's always a good ability to take on its own. So you'll see he's using, those asterisks are popping up because the way listen works is that if you pass a perception check that's like, it decays with distance, you'll know that a monster is there, it'll show you a star. And then if you pass another perception check, or you don't fail it as hard, I don't remember the exact math, you get to know exactly what monster it is. So that's really helpful. Once you get enough perception that you're basically telepathic. This is not super exciting right now. He's not even wearing any equipment that he's finding because it would just hurt his stealth once he went over 10 pounds, and if he gets hit, he's going to die anyway. He's got 28 health, so. This guy still has more health than the 5-1-1 ones that we were playing before. But he does really have no defense. So, actually, I'm curious why he didn't. Was that a Kerbane or a bat? I think he could have killed the bat. I'm not sure why he didn't, because they don't even shout. But yeah, doing this kind of build involves a lot of stair scumming. So now he's cranking Song. Probably the next song he's going for is Cheap, which is Song of Silence. And that silence and stealth are sort of interrelated in Sil. They're not the same thing. So singing silence, I don't believe it just gives you a stealth bonus. I think it reduces your noise, which alters your stealth check when you have to save against stealth or whatever. But I don't remember the exact mechanics. I just remember playing in the debugger once, and you can actually see, you can create a sort of a visualization of what your noise levels are. It's pretty rad. Oh yeah, I should have put on log smoothing because he does halt for long breaks. So those, I think, are our first orc soldiers of the game. So I mentioned before, while he's just doing some kind of boring thing. So you'll see he's hugging the wall here, and that's because you get a stealth bonus with the more walls that you have next to you. So now he'll probably, once he gets 500 XP, he'll probably take Song of Silence. I'm actually not sure if you see a monster via listen. I don't know if you get the experience or if they actually need to come into line of sight. It looks like the latter. So I mentioned, there we go, Song of Silence. I mentioned that this build would be particularly hard, or I think much harder, on Sil 1.2.x. There are a few reasons for that. The main one is that, I know I had a bunch, but I know there's one in particular that I can't remember, is that in Sil 1.2, they nerfed the experience you get for finding artifacts and seeing unique. So before, let's say you were on floor 200 and you were going to get 200 experience for seeing an orc. Archer, whatever. That's not exactly right, but if you were to see a unique of the same depth, you would get double the experience. So if you saw Bulldog or something, or Gorgal, you'd get 400 experience. Same thing with artifacts. So usually you get 100 experience for seeing a new item. If you saw an artifact, you get 200. So that actually adds up quite a bit, especially when you can't kill things. And they nerfed that to just be the same as any other depth item. So if you find an artifact, it's still good because you're getting experience you wouldn't have otherwise got, but it's just 100 experience. And if you see a unique of depth X, it's the same as seeing any other monster at depth X, so your experience pool is lower. The other thing that made it way harder, I remember now, but it's kind of a spoiler, is, I won't tell you what they are, but Morgoth now can sing. He's trapped. Okay, so he's going to wake up this archer, and there's Mulip. So he was really lucky, hang on, he was really lucky that that was an archer, because if that had been a soldier or anything that does melee, I'm pretty sure it would have just stood there and caved his head in. Because there was only one of them. They may have gotten to pack AI and like grouped around the entryway, but he wouldn't have been able to sneak out, I don't think. So he was lucky that those were archers. But this just goes to show you, like, knowing where monsters are is much more beneficial than being able to pass the stealth check. Because had Listen kicked in and seen that, I was going to say Hippogriff, I've been playing too much, not Sil. What is this thing? A Mulip. If you'd seen the Mulip coming, I guarantee you he would not have gone down there. So, perception is good. Okay, so he survived. Good. Not bad for, like, shit defense. Anyhow, so Morgoth has a couple songs that make it really hard to be a stealthy person, let's put it that way. So you need to really prepare for both of his songs. especially for the Ascent, because this character's clearly not going to kill Morgoth, so you're going to have to deal with him all the way up. And he's just like way more annoying, to the point where like it was cool the first time I did it in 1.2, but I will pretty much never play the Ascent again unless he's dead. It's that annoying. Okay, so he's moving away from all the dudes, but I think he went to go see the dude so he would get the experience. And he still doesn't have a digger. That's one of the awesome things they added to Sil 1 too, is if you have a digger in your inventory, I think I said this last time, you don't need to swap to it to use it, you can just dig. But he doesn't have one, so... He also has 0 strength, which I don't know how that works in 1.1, but in 1.2 he wouldn't be able to dig anything at all, so kind of pointless. He will be able to use the heck out of a Horn of Blasting if he finds one, though, so... He's pulling experience, which generally... not such a great idea. Oh, and here's the last nerf that Basil's having to deal with here. And that's the fact that he's playing the console version. The console version of Sil does not put a backdrop behind monsters who are unwary or asleep. So you just literally have to look at every single damn monster with the look command to see if they know that you're there or not. I remembered what made those Grave White so much more dangerous in 1.2. In this version, the old one, the Grave White can hit to do something lame or touch to slow. And he can create darkness, which is always my favorite thing. But in the new one, he can touch to drain strength, but he can slow you down from line of sight. So I think he lost his create darkness thing, and he gained a create you're really slow thing. So yeah, they're way cooler now. I like them a lot. There's also a unique vault that is undead focused now, just like the Cat Fortress and all those things. I hope we see that one day. It's pretty rad. Okay, so he stayed the heck away from Easterling archers, which is a super good idea. And it's handy that he can actually find secret doors, unlike most of my characters. Oh yeah, I remember the last nerf in 1.2 that makes this character hard. So this character, not now so much, but in the endgame relies really heavily on songs. And there used to be an ability, which still exists in this version of the game that Basil's playing, called Unwavering Voice, where we've taken it before. Where if you buy it, it doubles your voice. And that's gone. It just doesn't exist anymore. It was decided that it was kind of a bogus ability. And lastly, Song of Sharpness got nerfed hard, so if you have to cut a Sil out of the crown, this character obviously has a really hard time to do it because it has no muscles. And I think that isn't such a big deal, because if you're going hard on Song, Sharpness is still pretty good, but it's pretty much half as good as it used to be. So it makes it really tough to take that Silmaril out of the crown. So that is unique, I think. This is still using like the old weird... like this version of the game that is being termcast, like Basil sent this to me at the end of 2013, so this is a really old game. And back then Marvin PA was playing around with colors that I guess he thought were clever, but were bad. So some of these guys look really similar. Although this may have been original Sil colors too, I don't remember. Okay, so Basil was so stressed out by those Easterlings that he's just taking a break. Let's see. The good thing about playing a game like this is it goes real fast. Like, he's already a 450. He'll probably get to the end game at like 10,000 turns max, if not finish the game before then. Which is generally where I'm at, like 400 feet or something. Yeah, and like use IDing items that aren't shields at this stage in the game with this kind of character isn't really such a big deal, because if you get stat drained, I mean, you're dead if you get hit, so being stat drained isn't the end of the world. Being strength drained is super annoying because you can't carry... he already can't carry anything, and getting strength drained means you carry even less, although he'd be fine right now. So I guess he's checking... I don't know what song he would want next, actually. Eventually with this build you want to get Song of Lorien, which puts everybody to sleep when you sing near them, but your stealth needs to be high enough to not immediately wake them back up, so I don't know what he's doing. Unless he wants... yeah, that's the only thing I could see him wanting. This looks like a little orc rave. Like, what's with these colors? They're going to take their glow sticks elsewhere. But yeah, I was going to say maybe he wanted Song of Trees, but when you have Listen and you're not fighting things, you really don't need light. Like, you can survive with 1 light radius, actually. Not that it's fun, but you can do it, I think. So I think the only song he'd be really going for is Song of Lorien. So there's another pack. He saw the little stars that indicate he probably doesn't want to go over there. That was Othrod, so he got the experience for seeing him. Actually, that's really an out-of-depth Othrod, I think. Although the running joke is that if you want to know what depth you're going to meet a monster in Sil at is, look at the depth that it says you're supposed to meet it at and subtract 200 feet. Because like with all the vaults and stuff, usually you meet monsters way earlier than you should. I always complain that most games I meet werewolves at 400 feet, like pretty much before I see wargs. Okay, so here's another thing. So this has nothing to do with Sil 1.2, but it has something to do with Marvin PA Sil, MPA Sil. So in the newest versions of MPA Sil, they did a really cool thing, which I think I showed in my Hadar thing, but some guy named Absolute Go, I think, patched this. Where Lorekeeper now, I think maybe I already said this, Lorekeeper now will actually, when you take it in MPA Sil, it will tell you what items are good or bad by telling you if they're tainted. Yeah, that's right, because I remember throwing out a whole bunch of stuff in the last thing because I found out they were tainted. In this version, it just identifies all consumables, so it's kind of overpowered. I think you need more, like I think you need 6 perception to take instead of 4, but they were struggling with what to do with it at the time. In normal Sil, I can't remember what they changed in Lorekeeper, maybe nothing, but it's still trash. And I actually like what Absolute Go decided to do in MPA Sil quite a lot. You would still want Lore Master if you just like hate the ID game, but having consumables tell you which ones are sort of bad is way more helpful than weapons telling you that they're cursed, especially since like most sticky curses don't exist anymore. Okay, so now things he's got to be tricky about. He's been he's diving, so he's been holding off on putting points into stealth so far, and there's Gillum. And what the heck is that? Is that a shadow or an Oathwraith? Maybe it's yeah, that's got to be a shadow. Anyways, come 700 feet, which is not that far away when you're diving like this. He is going to be dealing with werewolves and cat warriors who have really high perception. Okay, so now he took Song of Lorien, so he's just going to have to suck it up. And so the thing to remember with Song of Lorien is that it basically checks against the opponent's will, and you become noisier when you use it. So not by much, I don't think, but so the basic thing is you need to sing it so that they don't see you, and then you also need to beat their will. And it's not obvious which monsters have a high will and which don't. So if you're not sure, make sure you look. But as a general rule, the demons and dragons, so anything that a Nargothrond sword kills, I think tend to have high will, and I think vampires do too. And maybe greater werewolves. Everything else, I really have no idea. So it's better just to look. Cats and trolls and stuff like that are pretty timid, but it's better to look on a monster-by-monster basis. But you'll notice several times he'll sing in this game next to like an R, and it doesn't care. It won't listen to you. There's my 550-foot werewolf. That's not too bad. I think their native depth is 600. Man, when I'm playing, I actually get to like stop when I'm going to like make an observation, but it's actually hard to keep up when the game is playing itself. That I would probably shoot to see if it's Radiance, but it's not. That's what you just tried. So who knows what it is. Probably one of the slaying ones. So I can't quite figure out. I think he sings Silence when he sees stars where he thinks like monsters might wake up. But I can't tell when he turns it off, like what makes him decide to turn it off. Because you do want to have your voice recharge. But there's really, he doesn't sing Lorien. I think he's testing it out right now just to see, although you really don't want that Shadow Bat to take you out when you're at +3 evasion. So, hang on. Where he is right now is very dangerous. This looks cute because he's dodging around and being crafty. But these things move twice the speed as him, so you really need to understand the pathing of how these monsters work to deal. I'm confident that these guys rarely ever check the corners. I think they often like try to, I don't know, walk along the hypotenuse. So I think if you move down, he'd be okay. But I don't know if they have some like glitchy AI that pretends that, you know, that it's searching or something that hits. So I don't, yeah, okay. So he did the same thing I would have done, which is gone in the corner, and it worked. They cut towards. So usually corners are fairly safe. But this, where he's standing away from the wall, around all these werewolves, is a relatively terrible idea. But it's not. I mean, he didn't have many options. He walked out and they came in. But the tricky thing about most fast monsters is they're also often perceptive. So they come on you quickly, and they notice you quickly too. So it gives you very limited time to react. So he's getting out of there because there's just too many crawlies, which I think was a good decision. All these shadows popping around make me wonder if he's wearing Haunted Dreams. I don't know if he ID'd his amulet or not. But this is the floor where you would meet them too, so I don't know. This giant is just really sketching out. Still with the song. I guess he really wants Lorian to work. And I don't think he took Vanish, so his stealth is just high enough now that he can kind of make monsters unwary just by walking away from them. I don't even know if he'll take Vanish at all, actually. I'd actually really like to play... Okay. Okay, he was okay. See, Serpents, I think, have terrible will. I could be wrong. But I'd like to go back and play like one of the old 1.0 releases of Sil just to see. Vanish used to be so ridiculous. Like, you could put 10 stealth into a character and turn on... I can't remember what the prereq is. I think it's Disguise. You turn on Disguise and Vanish and basically like just turn a corner and nobody can see you anywhere. And they just go and worry again. It was great. My favorite monster. Literally the worst thing ever. Not so bad when they don't see you, but... So with the fast, weird, sketchy monsters, you really want to put them to sleep with Lorian, just because it anchors them. And you don't have to worry about them stumbling into you, even if they're not onto you yet. So Gloves of Strength seemed like they'd be a weird choice for this character. But they do let him actually carry stuff. I'm not sure why he slept those trolls. That wasn't really necessary, but... So clearly there's some kind of undead monster here because he just ID'd a... Yeah, see, that's super weird. Some of the ID code now is odd because he clearly could not see that Barrow White, but it ID'd his Final Rush Short Sword. So this is a good vault. Did he... Yeah, okay, so he stole the chest. Okay, those are good. Yeah, these are like pretty much the best boots in the game. But I think he had stealth boots, which I would probably keep on. I don't know if he's... Because, I mean, he doesn't need the evasion, he doesn't need the free action, because... that's gutsy. I don't know if I would have done that, but... Basil's feeling himself. He's feeling his power. He like never looks at his inventory. I'm really curious what he has. I would not go in that room. Although I think he's looking for the stairs. Okay, now we get some... 10 stealth is really not a lot. Like, this is gutsy. And, yeah, that's the right thing to do. It's really neat to see people finding traps. Like, this is not... Are those greater werewolves or wargs? No, I think greater werewolves in this version are another stupid color, like orange or something. Yeah, that's a warg. Okay, not a big deal. But there sure are a lot of them. Did he go downstairs or did he... Yeah, he went downstairs. I was worried he'd fallen through a shaft. I think he plays with Auto Moron, so... Yeah, you'll see that thing just doesn't give a crap about Lorien. It's too obstinate. There's a lot of these ring Rokos. I love when those shadows pop under the door like that. It's so cool. It's like, I think it's cool that they went through that much effort to put that behavior on a monster that, like, it's the only monster that does that. And they do that in quite a few places, actually. Stuck doors. Worst. Oh, wow, he just bashed it down. I guess he turned on silence. So that's one really good thing for a Song of Silence. Things that normally make a ton of noise, you can really quash them. But yeah, I mean, webs and stuck doors are like the arch enemy of this character build. I think he does have a lamp, right? Yeah, okay, so he can fuel. Actually, can I go back? Yeah, let's see. What stuff does he have? Not sure why he's hanging on to those. Unless he's worried about getting gorged or something. Okay, so he's just not bothering to throw stuff out. This is useless. This is useless. Yeah, he's got a lot of useless stuff. Okay. Oh, it's just like a little hatchling pack. They're so cute. What's he doing? Oh. Sorry, I'm going backwards again. I want to see if I can... So we got a cursed ring of evasion, no big deal. Who knows what this is? He still hasn't tried to shoot anything. Bows are helpful though when you have high stealth and Lorien and stuff where in the early game when a monster blocks the hallway, you're screwed. Like you really can't get past it because you can't hit it, it'll kill you. But once you have a bow, you can do is shoot at them. And then they'll be pissed off at you and then you can run. And they'll come up. By the time they actually catch up to you, they fall unwary or asleep. But we won't know until he shoots something. I guess you can carry throwing weapons and stuff too, but with the melee he has, it's better to shoot. I guess he got hit by a hallucination cloud. That's annoying. I could have sworn that there used to be a hallucination status thing, but I guess maybe it was in a different variant. Although it's pretty obvious when you're hallucinating, but... Yeah, this is annoying. Well, I'm not sure why he doesn't just rest. Like, sitting there, I think you'd be alerted before anything bad happens. But. I thought he was going to reset the floor, because he was just getting frustrated with trying to find a down staircase. What's he taking now? So he's taking dexterity. Interesting. That's an interesting choice. I'm not sure why he did that. Like, it'll bump your stealth, but the rest of his abilities are pretty... I mean, evasion, if you really wanted evasion, he could get more than +6. Melee is clearly not, and archery is clearly not, so I wonder why he did that. I guess there's nothing else on the stealth tree. What are you going to take? You don't need Banish anymore, because he's got Lorien. I would have just taken more stealth, but I guess he's figuring it's just as cheap to take dexterity as it is to take another point of stealth at this point. And it buffs everything else, so I might as well. Maybe that's what he was thinking. Actually, the stat point abilities, I really don't like them. They're weird. I would almost prefer you could get, like, I don't know, like an artifact potion every game where it would just boost your stat 1 of each or something. Those quickness potions. Oh, okay. Actually, hang on. I was going to say those quickness potions are actually some of the best things you can get now, because they're pretty much his only escape. It's not often that in, I don't know how long we've been doing this, 20 minutes or something, we get to 700 feet, but here we are. I think I'm going to call it here, just because I think the last episode I did ran really long, and I like to break these into manageable chunks, and I'm already getting tired of talking. So I think this is a good spot to stop. Here is where he's already had to deal with a lot of wolves. Now he's going to have to deal with cats. Cats and dogs living together. That's the theme of 700 feet. And then once, I don't know, like, my preference, I played a few of these characters, my preference at this point is just dive like hell. Because the odds of you bumping into some annoying cat or some annoying wolf are high. But once you get to like 900 feet, everything is slow and kind of stupid. So it's just easier, and there's so much stuff at 950 that you can identify if you have the patience for it. Mind you, I always take Lore Master too. That you can really rack up a lot of experience in a hurry and just go for it. However, it is kind of worth it maybe to do a circle just so you see all the monsters in question or whatever. So we'll see what he does. I'm not sure. I'm guessing so far he's been like half. He hasn't really been diving. He's been like half exploring, half going down when he sort of sees the stairs. So I suspect she'll continue to do the same, but let's see if my hypothesis is proven or not next time. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. Very different build than what we're used to demonstrating, and hopefully something you can try out, if not in Sil 1.2, if that's not going well for you. I mean, hell, just go download one of the old versions and practice it there. But enjoy the video, and I will see you soon.